If you don't know Clovia, it's India's largest online lingerie and intimate wear brand. And in 2022, Reliance Retail acquired it for 950 crores.
In this ecosystem, raising funds being celebrated like success.
Like in first financial year that we completed, we did 6 crores.
Getting money to buy ammunition is not the same as winning the war. Every penny is very important. When you get a penny, you should not feel like paise aa gaye, let's figure out.
So what's your take on celebrity brand versus now founder-led brands?
Marketing is only one aspect of the business.
I personally also feel that beyond a point, democracy becomes very overrated. Right? Because democracy effectively means that you're as slow as the slowest guy in the room. Every great business is a great story, but every great story is not a great business.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the yet another episode of the Living Pod. I'm your host, Saurabh Arora, founder and CEO of University Living. Today's episode is special. I have got two incredible founders with me, Neha Kant and Pankaj Vermani, the husband-wife duo behind Clovia. If you don't know Clovia, it's India's largest online lingerie and intimate wear brand. And in 2022, Reliance Retail acquired it for whopping 950 crores. Yes, you heard that right, 950 crores. But here's what makes their journey very fascinating. They didn't just build a successful D2C brand, they tackled one of the most India's taboo categories, built their own supply chain when everyone said just import from China, and created a tech stack that moves inventory faster than most fashion brands can dream of. Neha comes from a media background. She was at India's Today's Group before jumping into entrepreneurship. And Pankaj, an IT Delhi grad who already had a couple of successful exits with his previous startups. And today, they decided to redefine how India women shop lingeries for themselves. In today's episode, we are going very deep, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get started. कहाँ से आया idea? And we can दोबारा start ये वाला, but you are saying 2012 and then also you have a kid, and generally which was random, idea or a child?
I planned both.
Okay.
I had planned for both. Of course, it wasn't that I was seeking entrepreneurship and, I was just in between jobs, and this idea had been in my mind for some time, for a couple of years. And then actually Pankaj and I had an accident, and for some time we were bedridden, kind of 2 weeks. So 2 weeks staring at the ceiling, next to each other, we started talking, and then, Pankaj felt that I should do it. The idea came because I grew up in Haridwar. वहाँ पे it's a English format ना, तो वहाँ पे वैसे ही मतलब एक शॉप थी जहाँ मम्मी जाती थी. I never went to the store. I don't know how they figured out my size and they bought it for me, but up till college ऐसा ही था. मतलब जब तक मैं मिरांडा में थी तब तक मम्मी ही लाती थी मेरा सारा सामान. So I grew up very uncomfortable in my skin and I was also in sports like you.
Okay.
तो वो it was the problem was compounded for me. तो वो भी एक mind में it was playing in my mind, and then I started to work in corporate. Now I had money. I could shop from high streets of Delhi, but even then, my pocket would only allow me as much to not go to mall brands. The mall brands were like international brands, and they were slightly prohibitive. So whatever was available in Delhi high streets was still lacking in sizing and fits, and so that's how, and a little bit of travel abroad for work showed me what else is there. So I thought, okay, this is a product problem. We looked into it deeply. It's a supply chain problem first. And then even if you make it, so two kinds of ideas were possible. One was marketplace, कि सारे brands को एक ही जगह ले आओ. बट बोलेगा ये ले भी आओगे तो प्रोडक्ट तो फिर वही बन रहा है ना, घिसा पिटा वही सेम वही बना रहे हैं लोग, तो कुछ खास नया बना नहीं, उसमें भी हमको टूटा फूटा देंगे. सो वी थॉट वी हैव टू सॉल्व द प्रोडक्ट प्रॉब्लम, एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी मेट सुमन एज वेल. वी न्यू वी नीडेड अ पर्सन हु इज अ प्रोडक्ट एक्सपर्ट, सो वी ब्रॉट इन सुमन. उनका बाय दैट टाइम आई थिंक 15 साल का एक्सपीरियंस ऑलरेडी हो चुका था. So in lingerie category, especially as a bra category specialist, as a designer, and then a production and manufacturing specialist. So he joined. So then now we had a complete team. So initially Suman and I got started, and then Pankaj, we took 2 years to raise our Series A, and then when we could, then Pankaj came in.
Is it unconsciously because Pankaj's parents also have the same business, like family business? Is this
I think it helped, like any VC, you tell them, so they may not, I've had this experience, they will not immediately relate to the problem. But if any guy has ever been told by his wife कि ये problem hai, they could immediately relate to the problem. That's what happened with Pankaj also. That when I told him of the idea, he could immediately relate to it because he had seen it at his father's shop.
But how tough or easy it was to get Pankaj onboarded, that especially when he's from IIT Delhi and all the tech baggage or understanding or experience to get into an offline business.
See, I think as a family, we were very responsible because we had families to run. We come both were first from middle class service background. I mean, mine service, but Pankaj slightly different. So we took it one step at a time. So it was first that what I can do. And let's just build from there. And then when the idea started to show promise and we generated cash flows in the first 2 years. And यार हमारा पता नहीं, मतलब God was really kind to us. पहले साल में ही हमने 6 करोड़ कर लिया था सेल. मतलब I wouldn't count the first 3-4 months to get ready. लेकिन first financial year that we completed, first 12 months, we did 6 crores of sales. And then the next year 18 crores. So we ran really fast.
It was in 2012, 2013.
This is 13, 14 and
so you got the
14,
product
15.
market fit
FY 14 and FY, we got product market fit. And also because I and Soumya joined us in 2013 only, 7-8 महीने के अंदर ही. So she was working with PwC और CA, तो वो भी छोड़ के आ गई. तो both of us were very good fit on sales. तो हमने वो sales mindset रखा कि brand बनता जाएगा parallel में, but पहले momentum लाना है. You have enough volumes to drive manufacturing, you have enough volumes to feed your e-commerce shop. तभी Shopify वगैरह कुछ होता नहीं था, Instagram भी नहीं था, WhatsApp भी नहीं था, unthinkable सी दुनिया थी. So but you had to you had to build the tech yourself, you had to build the whole.
Who was the techie initially? Sumant?
No, Sumant is manufacturing and production. And
who was the techie initially?
Pankaj supported us in the background.
So शुरू में the first 2 years was all sales. Let's get the अभी तो सारे जागे थे ना.
And building our tech shop. नहीं, our building our e-shop and our ERP and because ये सारे systems तब plug and play नहीं आते थे. So we had a tech team which Pankaj ran on the side in addition to whatever he was doing.
So you were focused on sales, and you have the very strong customer insights.
Yeah.
And Pankaj coming from the background which is the same business and with his tech background.
I wouldn't say he had any background from his dad's shop. So
for audience, he's my senior, so it will be very hard for me to say Pankaj bhaiya or Pankaj. So let me see what natural goes out. But fascinating. Thank you. Now तो एक एज का तो होता है कि भाई तू भैया भी मत बोल, तू नाम से बोल. एटलीस्ट मेरे साथ तो ये होता है. But fascinating story. So I mean, so let me tell you my audience, right, and why we are doing it, right? So it's been almost 100 episodes I have done, and all credit to the team for sitting through 2 hours, 3 hours, what not. I guess shoot तो हो गया है. Air जो है वो अभी 85, 86 है, ऐसे कुछ है ना? 80s, right? So and when the whole idea came in, I was like, yeah, see, there's so much of information and wisdom people are sitting, especially for our education as a space, high study as a space, because they are all like, they are regional players or they are mom and pops, they are doing for like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. I'm like, so many wisdom is sitting, why can't we? And then on the demand side, on the information side, people say that agents are very, they don't give unbiased advice. They are all about which university the commission will come, they will push it. That's how I went to Nottingham, because I didn't ask, no one told me, and I reached out there without booking any my accommodation. So I stayed in a hotel. So that's how all this happened, and that's how I got into the industry, right? But then why this podcast? So we thought, एक तो हम बहुत ही niche segment build up करें accommodation, और भी इंडिया में, और भी जब वो बाहर जाते हैं, तो जब तक I call it accommodation like a cancer. मुझे होगा नहीं, और हो गया अब लेट हो गया. Because that's what happened with me. That's what happened with my co-founder Mayank. He was my co-founder, roommate, and like, see, I went there, this is what happened. Right? You better book it from here. Right? So he did listen to me. He did book it, his accommodation from here. But then he reached out, paid everything, and stayed with a very cold UK couple. जहाँ पे breakfast सुबह 7 बजे, lunch or dinner 5 बजे. Indian bodies are not meant to have dinners at 5, and you have paid everything. So then I'm like, अच्छा मुझे पता नहीं था, तुझे पता था तो भी तेरे से ऐसा हुआ. Then I have my now CFO and my CTOs whose kids also have gone. They also face the problem. I'm like, ये problem तो real है और बड़ी है, but still very niche and everyone get to know once they are there. अब तो late हो गया ना. So I'm like, let's make people talk about accommodation. Awareness is very important. Education is very important. And then we're like, okay, let's start with accommodation. But let's go into higher education as space. And we believe that okay, that's almost बहुत कुछ cover कर लिया है. अब वो अब repeat होना शुरू हो गया. But then so many then universities have start coming in. Different country universities have start coming in. Education founders have start coming in. As a space starting coming. I'm like, what next? So I'm like, yeah, as a founder, we don't get time to upskill. We don't get time to network. या तो वो मीनिंगलेस नेटवर्किंग होती है जहाँ पे आप तू क्या कर रहा है फंडरेज हुआ नहीं हुआ, राइट. आई थॉट लेट्स रीच आउट टू पीपल हु हैव बीन हेड द जर्नी, who have in their industry they have been numero uno or probably they're doing well. So how can me as a founder can learn, how my team can get access to people who have probably, see, it can be a different space but problem same ही होती है. जैसे I was drawing parallels between University Living and Clovia as a part of this research. So like for you, your one of the reason was it's a very unfragmented market. Similarly, accommodation, it's a very unfragmented market. Either you have the luxuries, penthouses and student accommodation, or you have very homestays and PGs of the world. So they're very unfragmented and people are not aware. Like in your case, like people are not aware, or probably they were taboo to ask what is my size, like should I buy it myself, should I ask my mom to go, right? So similarly for accommodation also, people are not aware that they need to book early, or they have more option beyond. I believe you're also invested in one of our peer group, right? So you know this space quite well. But till the time your kid is not going abroad, you will not think of it. And till then, you will also depend upon your education counselor to tell कि अच्छा एडमिशन हो गया है, अब accommodation यूनिवर्सिटी से आप अप्लाई कर लो, बट यूनिवर्सिटी के पास accommodation है नहीं. It's a limited accommodation. That's a space. So then from there, then I'm like, okay, let's reach out to my founder friends or to my investors who have been backing us up, or we can learn from them. As a macro, we can learn from them. And from there, the audience, the kind of support, the viewership is coming in. I believe that there's that kid who's at 14 who want to learn not from just books, but from founders who have done it, right? With entrepreneurship been growing so fast in India. Then there are parents who don't want to hear from people who have gone abroad 40 years back or 30 years back or 20 years back. It's very irrelevant, right? Then there's a theme that why education, especially in the era of YouTube AI, why you not need to spend $50,000-$70,000 just to have a degree, So these are few themes I've been playing on, and then it's very unscripted. The only I would selfish motive is to learn from people who have done it or probably been ahead of the curve, and I don't want to make the same mistakes. I don't want to build for 30 years. I mean, I want to build for 50 years, but then the outcome should be faster than what probably we've been doing so far.
Some of the best ideas जो मुझे मतलब जो मेरे काम करे हैं क्लोविया में, मतलब मैं अपने लिए बोल रही हूँ बस, have come from listening to others. जो उनके business में कुछ काम किया, मतलब different sector, different, but उसको retrofit करो and it just works.
So coming back to Pankaj, and thank you for first of all coming over. I know it's a busy time and you have so many things. You're running a board, you're running a company, you have kids, and you have 5 families around. And that too in a festive season like this.
Plus a month end.
First of all, plus a year end. So how is going? Especially with the post acquisition, how is going overall?
I think so. Nothing has changed, frankly, for us. I think it just gets a little bit more structured. So I think that's one learning that you have to take, because all of a sudden you're part of a much structured organization. Structured meaning, since a public organization, then you will have a lot more compliances and all. So that makes you a little bit more disciplined, right? So I think that's predominantly the one undertone that you have to fix in yourself. Otherwise, everything is business as usual for you, right? And of course, then you get some additional channels of revenue, etc., where you can start pushing product, etc. So that also helps. So yeah, I think prime for that.
Yeah. So before you joining, so we went through the genesis of this idea. How did you join after 2 years? I was asking Neha, and in fact, my thinking was that because you come from a background where your father was running a lingerie shop, So that lots of insight must be coming. But to my dismay, I've been told that you were not allowed to sit in that shop and you were sitting outside the shop.
पानी पिलाने वाला काम हमारे वाला
Yeah,
पंकज का.
but the biggest learnings for an individual in a store, and when the store is 125 square feet, inside or outside doesn't matter because it's. I think the biggest learning that you get is in observing, the way transactions are happening. अगर आप parallel draw करोगे किसी भी mom and pop store में versus a structured multi people organization में फंडामेंटल्स एग्जैक्ट सेम है यार. वही कस्टमर सर्विस है, वही रिपीट परचेज आपका बिजनेस ड्राइव करता है. वहां पे तो आपकी टोटल यूनिवर्स ही 800 से 1000 लोग हैं. इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू डू कस्टमर सर्विस वेल देन यू आर डन. So I knew, like, my father would know. So we also used to sell toys along with it. So my father would know occasions. Somebody's walking in the store and say, "अच्छा birthday आ गया." So that's
very personalized and
very
customized.
personalized. So that's the level of, and I keep laughing that, my father was probably one guy who knew size of all the women in Meerut, right? So I think that's the power that you learn, and I think pani pilana probably was the smartest thing he could have, taught me to do, because all of a sudden it humbles you.
But there was a point when you were like, so I know that you come from all boys school, that to St. Mary's, right? So मजाक उड़ता था कि यार, या फिर those classmates were like, पंकज हम भी चलते हैं, we help you.
यार मेरे केस में क्या था, मैं बहुत पढ़ाकू था, तो सबको मेरे से नोट्स लेने होते थे, तो सब शराफत में ही बात करते थे. so मतलब वो वाला इतना एंगल नहीं था, but it was, I was blessed with very good friends. So, and most of my friends had like parents who were teachers, predominantly professors.
Okay.
Right. So थोड़ा बहुत हंसी रहता था, but
उस समय मतलब like cracking IIT Delhi was like aspiration, or it just happened, or probably.
Yeah, it was again just the way you said about, it's serendipity. You find out as things progress, right? I think for us also, because all my friends were picking up their bicycle and going to a coaching house, I also just picked up my bicycle and went to the coaching house. I did not even try to understand, what I should and what I should not do, right? Of course, I ended up getting pushed into something which I loved, right? Which was, it was God's grace. Otherwise, so maybe I would have decided कि तो बहुत गड़बड़ हो गया. So, of course, now our children will come up very differently because they are a lot more aware.
In fact, on this note only, so I just invested in a company called Strength Master with the same reason, because I mean, I did economics honor from Delhi University, right? And why? Because I was scoring well, because I was mugging it up, getting 90-95%, and like, अब तो यही करना है, because we are good at it. At least, I am good at it, right? But the moment I came to University Living, Delhi University, first year, I'm like, you are just mugging it up. You are good at macros, but not micros. Calculus, maths have gone for a toss. So I was very, very clearly realized that I will not be a good economist. So me better find a alternative career and complete my undergrad. And for the same reason, the moment I've been told by this founder of a friend of mine that I have created a career analyzer and a strength assessment, and I wow, and I went through those 5 strengths, and it's so, I mean, I'm so grateful that okay, we get to know that there is a psychometric test which is beyond the cliche test. Of course, that's a funnel for University Living also to get into schools and other things, but that these initiatives and these insights are so useful. But back to your story.
So 11, 12 you cracked, then IIT, and
yeah,
then,
so I went in second attempt. So my first attempt was I went to a regional college. There's a college called Pantnagar. Went there for 6 months. Came back on medical, this thing, and then did the second.
You didn't like it, or like?
Yeah, so no, it was a lovely college. It was great people. Most of my friends are still, who came out of there doing
Baba
exceptionally
Sehgal
well.
is an alumni.
Oh,
And a lot of my friends are doing exceptionally well from the, so school was very good. But again, I think once you aspire for something, you really want to do it, so you end up doing that, right? So I came back, but in the first semester I was at top of the university, so I was very happy about that, right?
And there were no aspiration of like founder starting something.
For me, I had already I was done with my first business. So 2000, after getting out of college, for 2 years I did a job And I was very fortunate to get into a company which was very small number of people. It was growing very fast. Then after 2 years, I started a company, and that time being a founder was not a very, was not very
Now
respectful.
that's by default.
This was 2004. So 2004, a guy not having a job was a very big problem. So
And that too in a love marriage, then
yeah. So when I sold my first company and I started in the India office for the company that acquired us, that's when I told Neha that maybe this is a great time for us to get married because I may not be doing this for very long. And so I think we got married.
6 महीने ही जॉब करी पापा को दिखाने के लिए कि मैं जॉब में हूँ.
income stable.
हाँ 6 या 8 महीने में होगा. फिर एकदम से शादी के फौरन बाद ही छोड़ दी तो मेरे पापा इज लाइक आई हैव बीन स्कैम्ड.
So 2000, yeah.
What is the IT tag, and like so many IITians are such super successful founders. What is their the magic, or what is the vibe because of which generally people do engineering and go to colleges to get a good job, but IT Delhi, IT Mumbai, or even IIMs for that matter, they're producing more entrepreneurs than job seeking.
IIMs, I'm not sure. IIMs, I think it's started to happen now because post an IIM, your opportunity cost becomes so high that it becomes much more difficult for you to get out of that, and because every year you're using a lot more, right? Straight out of IIT, you're not losing that much, right? Because it's a typical salary cut. But I think you are always a product of the company you keep, right? So when you see a lot of people around you doing things, right, then you all of a sudden realize that this is my parallel guy who is exactly how I was, and he's doing something, so I can do it as well, right? I think that I think is the most powerful thing. All of a sudden, you start seeing your own folks, your own friends doing something, and second is the network that it creates. I think it opens. I was, my son was laughing the other day, because every time I'm going on a street, I would say, it's a game we play. Papa, I'm going to point to a brand or a shop, and whether you would know the founder or not, we'll find out. And it's like, and usually I win around 60-70% of the times, right? So that's the network you keep. There's nothing that I'm doing for that to happen. It's just happening on its own. So I think that becomes very powerful, So if I have to meet anybody, I don't think it'll take more than 2 phone calls to get there, right? And same goes for a lot of us here.
Right.
So I think that kind of.
Will you suggest or push your kid to crack IIT?
Those were different times. The only way to create that network was probably that, and of course, all this is post facto. It's not like we went into the place for that network.
Probably we're not even aware that it will have
absolutely.
such a big byproduct.
I had no clue what we were doing anyways. But I think it's a function of knowledge, and the knowledge right now with the kids is a lot more than they had earlier.
Yeah.
They have a lot more avenues to make networks. Right? Today, they make better friends. Of course, all PG checked is at Roblox probably when they would do it IT. So I think it's a very different time now. And frankly, will you push your child is it's a redundant statement, because I don't think anybody can push a child these days. So, but would you want your child? Answer is 1,000 times yes. I think that will be a very beautiful thing to happen. A couple of my close friends' children are aspiring to be, IITians, and I'm living my dream through them right now. Because I really want these kids to get there and kind of experience what we experienced.
Then what do you think? You're a Delhi university product like me, right? We're in half of our time, at least I'm very open about it. If I get a chance, even I got it, after 90% into, Delhi University economics honors, right? I would rewind that point and probably go to a private school. If I could not make it the best, like CBS or whatnot, right? I studied on CVS, not CBS. But then, I applied, I prepared for CBS. I didn't get through, right? So, what is your view?
If you're asking as a parent, I think what I really want for my son is to grow up as an emotionally balanced, emotionally competent person, somebody who knows how to manage his emotions. So for that, I don't really particularly think which college he should go to. And like Pankaj said, if he can get in, if he likes engineering and sciences and can get into IIT any day. For now, we haven't decided that, we haven't thought that he should go internationally. We would very much like for him to study and compete in India.
Even undergrad, postgrad, both.
Undergrad, definitely. Postgrad, I don't know. But undergrad, definitely, as much as he can, he should be able to compete with Indian kids and perform at that level. But other than that, I am more into, I work with him a lot on sports and other things,
More
cubing,
holistic,
chess, and other things that we do. So I would like him to have an.
Did it change post acquisition? Was it same the first 5 years of you building your company and the last 5 years?
My view on what you should do.
on parenting and on making your kid more competitive versus
I think for first 5 years, our parenting was kind of absent because they are the same age. So we were just growing up together. I think we were also learning from him on how to be a parent, or from our parents on how to be a parent, because they brought him up. And then COVID happened. That was the first time we spent any meaningful time with him. Otherwise, it was morning 8 a.m. you leave him at school, and then night 8 p.m. you are meeting him. So then that's the first time we started to spend time together. But we found a lot of common interest in sports, and so I realized that he has a varied interest, and so that's where I put my effort in. That let him enjoy, let him try new things, whatever he can, and then pick his path.
ये change हुआ. Let's say
No, post I don't see any difference. I mean, parenting is very different from what I do at work. Two different worlds.
But that acquisition change हुआ. Like let's say where I'm coming in, let's say when you just started your startup, and you want to make it big, you want to earn good money, right? And then at least for me, in the first 5 years, I'm like, same, if someone tell me, even my wife comes and say that, you're still my first baby, I have no other option to accept. It's a fact, right? And same thing with COVID happened, that was the time, that was only 2-3 years, and luckily that was the time she got born, so I was able to spend first 2-3 years, right? But if probably now we are doing decently okay, right? So the way I'm thinking is not about IIT में push करना है या crack करना है, IIMs में करना है. Rather luxury liberty से यार जो उन्हें करना कर लेंगे, हमने इतना कर लिया है कि चलो भूखे नहीं मरेंगे, right? बाकी now they have choice to choose, right? Versus most of the parents, because in Indian society, education is a leveler. And if you don't make it to IITs and IIMs, then probably you need to put lots of money into education. I mean, even IITs and IIMs are expensive enough now, but then ROI is much better.
Of course.
Versus, you going to, let's say, private institution. I can name it like Amities and Bennett and whatnot. Do you think that changed?
No, I think
Did I
for
able to
that
explain my
we are
question?
we are very clear, and we are clear with him also. You have to compete with other kids for the best of college seats. They won't be bought. अब करना पड़ा तो पता नहीं,
But the intent is always exactly
right now also, I mean, that is the attitude, and that's the assumption we work with. We haven't thought कि हमको लगता है हमने भी किया ही.
Is it coming from the middle class bringing off all of
No,
that?
I don't think it's a middle class thing. I think it's more about getting ready for the world, right? And so this is, by God's grace, my third acquisition, right? So we've done this a couple of times before. I think it's never about whether there will be enough money or whether there will be grounds covered, right? God has always been kind, to that level. But the only thesis and intent for us was very simple, that he and us should have a normal life, I think those middle class values or whatever that means, I think there's something very beautiful, and you have to preserve it in whichever way possible. Right. And that's what we continue to do, I think, in a lot of ways. Just to add to how our household is, when there's both of them, I think it is so funny and it is so fun. Every time I come into the house, there's something new happening. They started solving Rubik's Cube together. So started going to contests together, where, she would compete with the parents and he would compete with the children.
So she's making up for the first 5 years she couldn't able to spend. What's his name?
Neil.
As in N-E-E-L, Neil Kant wala Neil, not the Armstrong wala Neil. And
my daughter is Faith. So it's the Armstrong wala Faith.
मतलब compete तो तुमको करना ही है लाइफ में, अपनी कॉलेज के लिए भी करोगे, किसी और चीज के लिए भी करोगे,
गर्लफ्रेंड के लिए भी करेंगे,
गर्लफ्रेंड के लिए करोगे, बाद में even if you do entrepreneurship, let's say we invest in your business, you get started, तब भी compete कहीं ना, so वो तो करना ही है. So I keep creating those moments where he competes and he knows how to
So he has a very interesting life because I have always been in performing arts and she has been the sports person. So now he kind of gets a bit of both. A lot of sports, of course, because I spend less time.
Competitiveness is coming from her, and that arts and that culture.
Theatre is coming from me, basically.
When you have such diverse set of parents, how do you spend common time together with your family, with your kids? Because let's say आपको theatre देखने का मन है, आपको sports देखने का मन है. How you balance that out?
I think हम दोनों नहीं देख के मूवी देख लेते हैं शायद कुछ ऐसा.
But I think we ended up supporting each other in a lot of things. For example, actually, you have ended up supporting me in a lot of things. I'm not the other way around. For example, when I did one of my, so there was this show that I was doing. There were like 14 shows that I did for that one play, right? It was a Broadway comedy we adapted in Hindi. And, every week, she and Neil was, I don't know, four years old. And they would come every week, they would watch every show, right? So, and my team, my theatre club still laughs. The most dedicated audience they've ever had is like this mother-son duo.
Most like captive audience.
or captured audience.
But I agree. I agree. Off lately, so the founder of Friend I Invested,
Yeah.
So he had done dramatics. So he's been telling a lot about how it has been shaping his foundership. How it's helped you in so many things.
You think on your feet, so many things can go wrong. I remember there was one event when I was supposed to go on stage and I got a call that my Masi had expired, right?
Oh.
And it was, I don't know, I just froze, right? And I had to go on stage. I was the lead actor, right? I had to speak for an hour and a half. So I went back to one of my, co-actors and I said, can you, because I was frozen for 5 minutes, I couldn't speak, I did not do anything. So I went to him and I said, can you slap me very hard? And he was like, what's wrong with you? I said, just slap me. So he slapped me hard, kind of brought blood circulation back or anything. I came back to life and then I quickly did what I did because my entire focus had gone on that pain or slap that happened. I don't know why I did it, but all of a sudden it kind of, so sometimes you have to, weird things you do, in theatre.
But Pankaj ने एक बार बड़े अच्छे से articulate भी किया था कि as a founder ना or as a boss of the room or CEO, when you walk into that office, you are like an actor only. Like an actor brings his energy to stage and then the audience starts to relate that energy. Actor is angry, the audience starts to mirror that emotion. So when you go walk into the office, your energy is going to define the day for the rest of the team also. So I think there.
But is it right? I mean, are you genuine and authentic enough? So this is one of the things which I will take away from this discussion is that I totally agree. If your life condition high, your surroundings and you will be able to take more rational decisions than versus impulsive decision or probably angry decisions. But from a founder point of view, from that one person who need to be authentic. If I'm feeling angry and I can't be angry because I need to absorb the mediocrity or probably some fault which I can see that, I need to point this out. How do you manage that? Because so many, like when you're running a company where the stakes are high, right? Even one time you're saying, like, चलो गलती है माफ कर देते हैं या छोड़ देते हैं, right? पर वो गलती बार बार हो रही है.
Everybody has a different way of handling. I think that's where your leadership, methodology kind of comes into picture. What Neha was just speaking about, one thing is that it's a beautiful experiment you can do. You can just walk into an office angry.
Yeah.
You walk in angry, go to your room, and थोड़ी देर बाद देखोगे little teams के अंदर anger has started to creep in, right? So and if you smile and you'll see everybody's kind of, so that happens. But I think from mistakes, I think there are two kinds of leaders. One is who nurture, right? Other is to reprimand. Right, so I think there are two different ways of doing it. I think you can only nurture to a certain extent, and I personally also feel that beyond a point, democracy becomes very overrated. Right, because democracy effectively means that you're as slow as the slowest guy in the room. Right, so you'll not run fast enough. So how do you drive that balance? Because if you're autocratic, then you're
killing ideas and
you're killing the business. So somewhere in the middle is that beautiful place where the business thrives.
And that's why
I
you
don't know, Madhu, this
that's
is-
why you compliment each other, because
Ah,
you seem to be a
no.
soft guy. He seems to be a soft guy.
No, it's not
And-
all true.
No?
Not all true.
I think we have very different kinds of management. So Pankaj has one kind.
So how you compliment each other?
Yeah, so I think in the office also we have fairly father-mother kind of a model, right? Where one can nurture and the other can
Bad cop, good
yeah,
cop.
yeah. Whatever you want to call it, right? So again, so somebody needs to pull up and somebody needs to nurture, right? But the pulling up energy is also very important, and nurturing energy is super critical. So how do you again manage? The good thing about having a husband-wife complementary as co-founders is that one person doesn't have to play both the roles. You know, because you can have that luxury ki, let me do this and the other one will kick in and solve this, and then everything will be back to.
But how do you balance out
Right.
couple? Because again, there are multiple stories. Like I guess Vinita been talking this a while. We know about Vinita's and his husband. Story that VCs are not very kind to them initially 8-9 years. That too in a industry like yours, which is again as you mentioned, if you know it, you know it. If don't, you were like ये तो छोटी category है या ये तो हमें related नहीं हुआ. There's no text part of it. So how was it in the initial days? And like firstly, so I'm guilty of probably not taking Bhavna along with me while we were building it up. And she was also very clear that she didn't want to be a founder. She was with us initially when we need people and we need
Free
support.
labor.
I was a free labor. Don't say that. In fact, it was very expensive to me, because I need. So my guilt was, if I am kind to, let's say, Aman, because I need to be conscious about, like okay, but with her I was very demanding. यार आप तो समझो, आप तो घर के ही हो ना यार. As you mentioned, you do act. So you are acting with probably teams, but if you need to act with your wife. It was taxing for me initially, and eventually, luckily, and probably she it all credit to her. She was very clear that I want to bring my family, and I'm here till the time you want. But beyond that, don't expect that, right? What was it for you guys?
So Neha was anyways, it was Neha's baby, and there was something which was very clear that both of us will be able to bring a lot of value to. I think that's what we felt, and one thing was very certain that so there was a lot of complementary to roles also, right? So all of a sudden that becomes very helpful, right? Because now what probably would require 3 people for her or probably 4 people for me, right, to do, between the 2 of us we could manage those 7 people's work. So I think that becomes extremely powerful. And as you rightly said, our category is like the toughest category, which is a common term of graveyard of brands, right? I mean, there's so many brands that have died such a bad death, right? In this category, it was very complex. SML XL wala products die, right? In apparel, ये तो 40 sizes, 50, 60 sizes का product है, तो 10 times scarier. So I think we had very difficult times raising money also, and we had to probably work 3 times harder than a usual founder would do, and that kind of helped a lot when
How was
we
your
got together.
fundraising cycle or your journey?
When we started, we had a seed fund. We raised seed fund pretty quickly because, like I said,
So it was it was basically an incubator which kind of funded us.
so
So this was
what
back
will
in
be
2012, 2013. And you were clear that you need to raise funds.
13.
13.
Because
And
we
you were clear
needed-
you need to raise funds.
We needed some money for that entire infra, so we wanted to go. So we wanted to do the whole upstream also, right? The
मैंने
entire
आपको
supply
बताया
chain
ना
is
उस समय
setting up.
कुछ ये सब Shopify वगैरह नहीं था, so everything had to be built.
Everything
So we
built,
needed
right.
the initial tech, and we needed to invest in inventory also, थोड़ी बहुत, and
But you
advertising
were clear
also.
it needs to be a tech, digital.
It has to be. It has to be. The supply chain of this ecosystem doesn't make sense to start on a distribution model. Hence the graveyard of brands, right? That's why we could, still do a decent job vis-a-vis others.
So 2012, 2013 you raised.
2013 we
13 we
raised,
raised,
and मतलब FY14 is when we launched. तो वही मैंने आपको बताया, FY14 was pretty very good for us in the sense कि first year मुझे आज भी अच्छा लगता है कि 6 करोड़ करना. हाँ, हमने सुमन I remember wanted a Mac machine उस समय, तो हमने टारगेट लगाया 1 करोड़ जिस मंथ में कर लेंगे, तो so next year हमने खरीद लिया वो early on ही वो Mac. And so then 2015 we raised Series A.
with Ivy Cap.
हाँ, and then actually at that point we rebranded also because हमारा पुराना brand था और शुरू में for generating cash flow we had done a lot of other things like TV shopping network या जहाँ पे भी volume का movement था वहाँ बना के product डाल दिया. So needed a new brand. So we rebranded and so brand मतलब उतना पुराना नहीं है. So 2015 and then actually जब life का एक phase खत्म होना आप सब भूल जाते हो उस बारे में. Then series B
That's
हमने
why this
B,
podcast
yeah,
is, you know,
yeah.
because
So-
many times we take things, you know, like as branded. You know, but then you know the people who are watching you, you know, and they want to see, like as you mentioned, building a category which is so complex and where people have not done well, and you as a founder we are very easy, you know, बन गया यार ठीक है ऐसे तो होता है सब भी बना लेते हैं, but then
नहीं,
people who are
नहीं,
watching from far, it's not that easy.
Not that easy.
So, yeah.
15 we did A.
and-
Around 18 we did B.
हाँ.
And that time we raised it from so there's a fund called ET Capital, right, which operates out of Singapore. So we raised it from them, and thereon there was no sizable raise that we did. It was very two small rounds we did, and then of course we kept doing some bridge angels. You know, we would have done a couple of them, but that's pretty much it. So we didn't
But
really.
how tough is to build something? What do you think? You know,
So we didn't raise a lot of money. So you know, our nearest competition ka 1/5 money, 1/6 money we had raised. So yeah.
Do you think you know,
In this ecosystem, you know, where raising funds been celebrated like success, you know, and when you are not raising and you're very conscious that you don't want to raise, because that's our story, right? We didn't be very clear, you know, it's a very high TAM, you know, it's a business where it will take time to build up globally, you know, and there are geopolitical risks, there are headwinds, right? So raising funds is easy, you know, but then to sustain it or probably to justify it, you know, then you need to do lots of things which many of my peer groups are doing, which I believe they should not do.
I'm very strongly saying it should not do, because it will definitely get you a fundraise, but will it make it sustainable? You know, that's a question I put it to myself also and to them. But,
Business बना रहे हो या story बना रहे हो?
Right.
Because
So,
every great business is a great story, but every great story is not a great
not a
business.
big business. Totally with you. So whenever that clarity came to you, that you know you don't want to raise funds, especially when your peer groups have been heavily funded, so there's a discount and cashbacks, you know, was happening. You know, how did you navigate that era?
You know, दो तरह की चीजें हैं. एक तो you should know which category of business are you in. If you're a winner takes all category, you're a food delivery, you know, you're horizontal marketplace, you know, so it's a winner take all. Maybe there'll be two players that will survive, right? So you have to land grab. And the only way for you to do things is to burn, right? Burn and scale, right? We were at the end of the day, all the tech aside, we were in apparel business. A good business, which was brand business, right? We had very solid gross margins. This is one discipline which Neha always kept to say, that I'm going to maintain a certain gross margin in the business, because the only way for math to add up. So our business was never that. So we were very clear that this is something that we can achieve by not raising much. So I think that was one, and then of course it was anyways difficult to raise. So that also helped us reiterate that thought, right? Because बहुत आसानी से जब पैसा मिलता है तो आप बहुत जल्दी से लेते भी जाते हो.
But you
that
think
becomes a challenge for
raising
you.
funds is a curse. You know, it depends on the
Yeah,
category.
I think it's a very simple thing. Getting money to buy ammunition is not the same as winning the war. These are two different things.
You can extend your,
हाँ, यहाँ पे तो ammunition के लिए पैसा आते ही लोग लगता है हमने लड़ाई जीत ली. मतलब
But it's not only because of founders. You know, the ecosystem is like that. You know, when I'm sure you must have also felt it.
everybody is responsible.
Initially, when you are not raising funds, you know, the people look at you and the versus the moment you raise funds. You know, it becomes.
Oh,
easier.
I've been humiliated like no tomorrow. Was when I would say that, you know, that I run this brand. So I remember meeting this one photographer in a flight, and you know, I said run this brand. So he didn't even acknowledge me. He just said, yeah, I know that competition of yours. The founder is a great friend. And he just looked the other side and started, you know, reading his book. And I was like, yeah, you know, let's be normal to each other. So a lot of people, this whole fundraise thing is a curse, and I think we are all responsible. You know,
हमको एक आधा validation भी मिला बीच में कि our competition that who raised a lot of fund, actually 2-3 were there. One died along the way. They pivoted to our model. They went from marketplace to a higher gross margin product led model, because the same thing that we had foreseen, मार्केट प्लेस खोलोगे तो प्रोडक्ट कहाँ से आएगा, ब्रांड्स तो वही बना रही हैं, तो वी हैव टू मेक द राइट प्रोडक्ट टू पिवट. सो वी गॉट दैट वैलिडेशन कि वी आर ऑन द राइट पाथ. अदरवाइज माइंड में क्वेश्चंस तो आते ही हैं कि आर वी डूइंग एवरीथिंग राइट, क्योंकि सामने वाला तो मतलब एक के बाद newer channels, newer categories. Secondly, we were very obsessed about sales and distribution channel. हमारा एक thesis था, Pankaj puts it well, कि जहाँ customer है वहाँ brand जाएगी. तो we were never fussy कि नहीं हमारे e-shop पे आए या हमारी offline store. अगर हमारा customer Amazon marketplace different इंत्रा वगैरह पे है, today Zepto पे है, तो हम वहाँ होंगे with the right product for that audience. जो भी उसकी ऑडियंस सबकी थोड़ी डिस्टिंक्ट है, तो वहाँ पे हम गए, एंड दैट रियली हेल्प्ड अस in scaling also.
What do you suggest in today's era? Like after you have tried so many GTMs. Like there are lots of people which believe that let's list on Amazon or now quick commerce. And that give you probably a 6 crore rupees. I was doing this with Rajan, right? And I was shocked. Like there are couple of cohorts during their search. They are doing 100 crores, 200 crores revenue. I'm like, मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? Literally मुझे ये हुआ. But then it was like now, scaling is faster, but also the competition is very brutal. You can be disrupted within a quarter.
0 to 100 crores is so much simpler now. When what would take 4 to 5 years earlier doesn't take 4 to 5. Sometimes take 4 to 5 months for people.
So what do you suggest? Like someone, a budding entrepreneur, who want to build a brand into D2C or probably into apparels or probably lingeries, right? Amazon, listing Amazon or e-commerce or marketplaces, or versus focus on their own website.
I think अगर हमारे जैसा बिजनेस है जिसमें इन्वेंट्री इज अ फैक्टर, तो शुरू में वो चैनल्स यूज करो जो एक पॉइंट ऑफ इन्वेंट्री से हैंडल कर पाए. अदरवाइज अब आपको इन्वेंट्री अलग अलग जगह रखनी पड़ती है, लाइक डिफरेंट डार्क स्टोर्स में रख रहे हो ये वो, तो फिर आप बढ़ गए आपकी इन्वेंट्री फिर से. इन स्टेप 1 आई एम सेइंग कि पहले अपने ही वेयर हाउस से जहाँ एक्सपोज कर पाओ, तो 1 यूनिट इज देयरफॉर वैलिड फॉर 10 चैनल्स. सेकेंडली चैनल का यूनिट इकोनॉमिक्स आपको दे के जाना चाहिए, पैसे नीचे कुछ आफ्टर ऑल योर मार्केटिंग वेरिएबल्स जितने भी हैं सब कुछ दे के जाना चाहिए. इट कांट डोंट वर्क इन द नेगेटिव. फिर वो आपका मॉडल ही कुछ फ्लॉड हो गया. हाँ, मॉडल ही मतलब इन अ बिजनेस लाइक आवर्स, आई एम नॉट सेइंग लाइक there are a lot of business models. I'm saying a product
for every brand business that is it should be true only, right?
But I'm saying in the consumer product,
consumer side,
consumer
yes.
product, the unit economics has to work. नहीं तो वो फिर एक point पे you will run out of money, you won't be able to scale. वो मतलब वो लगता है कि कल को जाके Facebook ads better चलने लगेंगे, but वो होता नहीं है. वो रिटेंशन से ही आएगा, वो आपको रिपीट से ही आके when your customers start to repeat with you, तब भी they will eat some bit of your marketing away. वो होगा ही होगा. So you have to, मतलब it's better to actually call up a consumer brand founder, seek their time and get their insights कि वो होगा ही होगा to build their initial P&L. So channel has to give you money, but आज की तारीख में अपना e-shop खोलना is very easy with all the plug and play everything. तो वो तो you start tomorrow. उसमें आपकी एडवर्टाइजिंग, अब एडवर्टाइजिंग इज ऑल्सो नाउ इट्स ऑल अबाउट स्टोरी टेलिंग एंड यू कैन डू सच इंटरेस्टिंग वेज. हमारी कैटेगरी में तो मुश्किल था तब. हाँ, हम डीलिस्ट हो जाते थे, तो हमको एक्चुअली नाइट सूट दिखा के लैंड कराना पड़ता था टू सेल ब्रास, या टेक्स्ट एड्स डालने पड़ते थे. ब्रांड सर्च कुछ था नहीं गूगल पे, तो प्रोडक्ट सर्चेस थोड़े से ही थे. सो एवरीथिंग वाज अ लॉट ऑफ विजुअल हुक्स है. सो पब्लिशर्स भी अलग अलग ही थे उस समय, मतलब बिकॉज इंस्टाग्राम वाज नॉट देयर एंड फेसबुक वाज आल्सो स्टिल इवॉल्विंग. So a lot of these news sites, etc., were our initial sources. So, but today I think you should just make sure that you. I think working capital management सबसे बड़ी चीज है हमारे बिजनेस में.
Cash flow is
working capital आपने. And पंकज ने जो पूरा हमारा जर्नी भी बताया फंड रेजिंग में, एक और चीज हमको जिसने बहुत अच्छा फायदा किया. Somebody gave us an advice to raise debt. I think you should tell. That is where I think the listeners will also probably benefit.
Yeah, so I think debt is undermined as something which, because it's not sexy na.
Society only.
It's not sexy also na. मतलब fundraise में news आता है, ठीक है, debt raise में news नहीं आता, right? So कोई इज्जत नहीं मिलता.
Right.
But all of a sudden, अगर आप you know, if you're smart enough, you know, raised even from an NBFC raised, let's say the 13%, right? Are you saying that your business is not going to deliver an IRR of 13% plus to your investors? If the answer is yes, then you're running a fraud
you should not be
business,
running a business.
right?
Totally.
Our average IRR that we give to our investors was 55%, right? I think we would have the amount of equity we would have raised vis-a-vis debt that we would have raised, the debt would have been at least easily 40-45% of the equity raise. So we ended up saving almost 35% IRR on 45% of the funds you would have raised, right? And all that money went back to our investors and, you know, founders. So that is something which is very, very powerful.
It was a big saving for us.
Yeah.
It gave us, our investors, future investors, confidence because somebody is giving you debt means your
There's
business is
validation
well.
and,
It put a lot of discipline in us also to be able to serve debt.
But
to
tell me
That
one
is
thing.
that one thing is very critical. This discipline in us, because when debt money comes, people start treating it like equity money, right? And you know, even the equity money should also not be treated like that. Every penny is very important. When you get a penny, you should not feel like if paise aa gaye, let's figure out a way to deploy. I think that's the biggest challenge. And debt, it doesn't show on your cap table also, so you take less stress also about it. That is where you have to be very, very careful.
But tell me one thing. You know, sorry, you know, you were completing.
No, predominantly that you know, debt is it's a karmic debt also. So be very careful that you be disciplined about
So
it.
is equity, but किसी के
But that
पैसे
is
हमने
even more,
but
But tell me one thing, you know, now it's easier for you to say that, you know, that is very important. But imagine your first year of building, you don't have assets, right? You're building a brand, you know, and a model which is again, you know, you go to banks.
नहीं पहले साल में तो नहीं मिलेगा
पहले 3-4-5
आपको
साल में
कुछ
नहीं
तो
मिलता।
आई थिंक हमने
3 से 5
पहला
साल में
शायद
मिलेगा।
2-3 साल में दिया था
Inventory was always there, right? So we had some tangible asset to take.
But
Yeah.
फिर भी first
And then
year,
you
of
could,
course, you have to have some numbers
Yes.
under your belt. You have to show. Basically, we raised debt when we were making loss. P&L हमारा loss में ही था शुरू के कुछ साल में. लेकिन हमारा we were showing cash flow.
Our cash flows were so strong that somebody would come and say that, you know, escrow कर लेते हैं और
So every month there was some there were payments coming in and our e-shop we were collecting money instant. तो वो सब we were able to service. तो शुरू की लाइन तो बहुत छोटी सी थी, ओवरड्राफ्ट था 1 करोड़ का.
उस समय रेवेन्यू बेस नहीं होता था, वो होना शुरू हो गया था.
क्या चीज?
रेवेन्यू बेस फाइनेंसिंग
नहीं, बहुत एक्टिव नहीं थी. Active actually,
वो 20 a lot of new age financing tools came in 2020 and thereafter. तो a lot of NBFC also came in. तो हमने वो भी छोटा मोटा कुछ किया हुआ है, वो भी करा है time to time कुछ PO financing वगैरह. मतलब you use these tools available to you smartly. You have good margin. And you have a PO from a large established player. Use it to fund that because कई बार क्या PO तो आ गया पर आप इन्वेंट्री का तो आपको वो आपको पैसे तब देंगे, आपको अभी डालना है. So a lot of time you let go of the business.
That other, all of a sudden it becomes very interesting because when you have to payments to make, so then instead of becoming a P&L business, you become a cash business also. You start thinking cash inflows rather
आपको
than
भी
thinking
समझ में आने लगता है
revenue.
अपने बिजनेस की क्या रियल स्ट्रेंथ क्या है.
इंटरेस्टिंग.
So आपके लिसनर्स को आई थिंक ये जरूर एक्सप्लोर करना चाहिए डिफरेंट स्टेजेस ऑफ.
Any question you have for me? You know, I've been asking so many questions, you know. So probably, you know, we can tender tables. let me make you go through that, you know, it's like when you're thinking and asking and listening, you know, कितना मजा आता है.
So in a business like yours, right? I mean, where sales functions are, you know, I think you would have around 150 sales we were discussing, right? It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So and to keep them motivated just with incentives is not simple. So what do you do? What's your secret sauce? What works the best for you?
I don't know, you know, I mean, you're putting on a hem actually, you know. So I don't know, you know, we believe as a culture, we are very transparent. You know, we are very real. You know, at time we question ourselves that is it okay to be too real? Wherein we are telling everything, you know, the margins and, you know, what is not working, you know, we have put everything in front of our teams, you know, and even if we say the target is 100 and we are achieving 70-80% of it, we don't able to achieve 100% targets, and that is something which I always question, that is it us which is failure or probably this is the
target ही क्या जो achieve हो जाए.
I don't know, you know, ये अच्छा है. तो मंथन है ना, हर मंथन में हर फर्स्ट वीक में ये होता है कि यार देखो 100 बोला था फिर 75 हुआ, you know, and then
This is very painful.
leaders comes and say that it's a stress target, probably maybe, right? But yes, one thing is good that whatever the overall numbers we take for a year, we've been achieving that in the last 9 years. And then we question that, are we not too ambitious? Are we comfortable with each other? But coming back to your question, so I believe so I follow a couple of hacks. So I would say that extension of me, I come and like shake hand with everyone. I meet them. That give you a pulse. The moment you shake hand, you get to know that person. यार ठंडा है कि चार्जर है या फिर ये जाने वाला है कि है. That is one thing which probably works for me. And then there's a very flat organization. So because motivation is very under thing ना. It's like आज मैं motivate हूँ कल नहीं. मैं 2 घंटे में motivate हूँ. I always say whenever you sit with your team, आप 5 मिनट अच्छी बातें करते हो, 3 मिनट के अंदर वो बाहर जाते हो, भूल जाते हैं सब. नहीं तो छुट्टा मारने जाते हैं, चाय पीने जाते हैं, then आके they are back to that. So I don't believe motivation is a strategy, but if you are transparent, if you are mission driven, and then also I believe over communication is better than lack of communication. Because as a human being, we need to be poked, we need to be told, we need to be showed things over and again. So these are few things which I've been trying. I don't know whether successful or not, but we're doing decently okay. And the overall retention for my team is around 3.5 years with this Gen Z, which I believe is amazing. But then we also question that, are we more comfortable? Is there a too good culture to be into sales?
That's a founder's curse. You will always keep questioning yourself, right? A founder and mother are exactly the same thing. No? You're always in that mother's guilt is always there. Am I doing enough? So yeah, that's fine.
Any question from your side? Or?
How do you relate to your Gen Z? Workforce youth? How do you work with them to keep them motivated?
I listen to lots of podcasts from these people who are like not build their businesses, but then they have amazing things to tell. So that keep me think. Then like probably I'm 40 now, but this is how I define myself. I'm 40 with 20 years experience and 20 years of youth. Now beat me. So I am the first one. In fact, most of my initiative, I always telling my time why we're not winning being culture. Why we are like अगर हमारा content, हमारा ही audience, हमारी team अगर उसमें engage नहीं कर रही, so that means हम content जो बना रहे हैं वो probably
But by the way, if your team starts to integrate in your content creation, it is beautiful. The whole energy of the office also changes.
So we've been doing that, fantastic. And it's also cheaper also.
Of course.
Right. So coming back to so when was that one moment it's like, okay, we made it, now let's kill it. What was that year or moment for you guys?
I think we both have different of those, right? I mean, I have one which is it's not about we made it, but I think there is something there, kind of a moment.
You sense it.
You sense it, right? Yeah. And it's exhilarating. There is relief. There is high spot of energy. It's very difficult to explain. And this was, in fact, when we're not even, we're just kind of getting a hang of our supply chain. Our supply chain was the toughest to crack, right? Because everybody was sourcing from Bangladesh, etc. And, we said, boss, we're going to make in India. Even today, 99.8 or whatever percent.
But it was like, it was conscious, it was like...
Conscious, 100%
totally
conscious.
Well, make in India because government was supporting and...
No. Government was talking of it at that time.
Right.
So it was a good, put the thought like there. But no, it had nothing to do with it. It was a very conscious choice, I told you, to be able to do short batch production, to provide that much variety with limited capital that we had. To collect the feedback and turn around the product with that feedback faster. And also, you
and Indian body types is the biggest challenge. If you pick up 250, 300 pieces, let's say from a China or Bangladesh, it doesn't make sense. How will you scale it?
And also, you don't lose money because वो 45 days तो फिर high seas पे है या factory. So यहाँ पे बहुत fast,
so
सुबह बना शाम को.
Higher quality, fast creation, faster scale, right?
We had a very mad kind of a program where we felt कि अगर वो आज warehouse पहुंचा है ना product तो अगले minute से उसकी sale शुरू हो जानी चाहिए. Because inventory can really build or kill your business. वो बैठी रह गई inventory on your in your warehouse on your book.
You're losing money.
तो you're losing minute every minute. तो वो warehouse सब कुछ पहले से ready होना चाहिए. वो warehouse में गया और जाते ही वो बिकना चाहिए. So if with that kind of madness ना मतलब फिर वो पास में ही रहने से better हुआ. मतलब we had our
so जब आपने scale किया, like initially when you were like 30, 50, 100 people, so ये madness रहता है. जब वो how big is the team or how big is the overall infrastructure?
We have now about 180 people in corporate, and we have about 350 plus our sales associates at different counters, and then we have
So you
people
make
and
people sit in different counters?
no sales
Exclusive
shops
outlets,
and outlets
shops,
में mom and pop stores में भी
So
कहीं
that
कहीं
is
brand staff
a
है.
company.
Yeah,
made?
all
Okay.
our own.
Company,
folks,
and then we have, and then there is warehousing people. So I think total करके 1800 plus.
It's a lot of people. Yeah.
So initially, like, when you were 100, the madness is there, because you are dealing touch point with every owner. But once the team is so big and it's like
Yeah, so I
remotely-
had asked this exact question to Marissa Mears once, right? And got an opportunity to meet her. Right, that time she was like, the building the culture of Google and all, and that's the exact same thing that when you're building, and this was when I was running my second business, which was the edtech business I spoke to you about. So I said like the first 500 people, 1,000 people, you can build that culture of innovation and stuff like that. Now, how do you scale? So what she said is something what I ended up using for myself, and some in her way Neha was using for herself, and kind of worked out well for us. Is you build the right nucleus. If your nucleus is that everything gets and draws its energy from that nucleus, and everything kind of builds around that. So our initial 40-50 people are still with us. They've been with us for around 10 years plus now, right? And that energy even today, and this is the mandate to ourselves and to people. When you come to office, come like you've been here for 10 years, and and work like it's your first day. So you're.
But how is it not easy to like, okay, you are founders, they are management team, they are founding teams.
Yeah.
Because there are stakes, and they are they are getting to know everything, good, bad, ugly. So there's a combination happening, and there is that nucleus has been attached. The moment, not everyone. Let's say one of your
Incentivization. This also drives from the nucleus. If an organization has that culture where everybody says that my work will be respected, the level above. Then they will do more, right? And the level above will be respected because the level above is also more confident that if I show that somebody under me is working well, I'll get more respect than me working well. So the culture has to trickle down like that. For example, if somebody says I've done a great job, I'm not very happy. But somebody says my team member has done a great job, it reflects more on that person. So somewhere, at least I personally very, very strongly feel that it's all about if you create an organization where everybody is gauged by the way their team is performing and not by how they are performing, then all of a sudden it's important for them to present their team in a good way. And that team also percolates down the same way, and then everybody knows that my effort will be respected. And second is one very interesting, somebody told me once that it's not how you treat the people who are with you, but how you treat the people who are leaving you, for example, right? So it's all a function of if people understand that this tremendous amount of respect that comes to you, right, and the way you operate, then people slowly and steadily start get aligned to your goals.
Whatever said and done, this category is still taboo, right? And even as behind the scene we're talking, in a break that, जब आप content बना रहे educate करने के लिए market को, it was people were not receiving it the way you were thinking, and then you were like, चलो let's entertain only. So do you think now it's given the low attention span, now it's everything about entertainment?
I think हाँ हमने ये ट्रेंड थोड़ा पहले कैच कर लिया था बिफोर पीपल स्टार्टेड टू क्रिएट यूजर जनरेटेड कंटेंट या जो भी इन्फ्लुएंसर कंटेंट वी फेल्ट दैट वी कैन नॉट बोर विमेन और आर गर्ल्स इनटू बाइंग मतलब ये क्या सारा टाइम एजुकेट कंफर्ट कॉटन हाँ मतलब दैट इज़ वाई I think that is one insight about women as customers, that you cannot just keep talking functionality and to her. You have to connect with her on her aspirations level, on what she enjoys, what she enjoys, what she aspires to be, how she aspires to be. में look भी आता है, personality भी आती है, और financial independence भी आती है. तो उस level पे connect करोगे तो then she would like to talk to you. So we reimagined our brand as a friend you like to gossip with. Our socials, our packaging, our even the product stories that we built were everything about Clovia being a gossipy friend with you, and whether you would like to chat with her or not. And then friends talk these things. फ्रेंड्स वांट टू टॉक अबाउट यू नो दिस, ये तुझ पे अच्छा लग रहा है, ये पहन ले इसके साथ, सो यू नो तू गलत कर रही है भी बोल सकते हो तुम उसको. सो विद दैट आवर कंटेंट बिकेम सो मच ईजियर टू एब्जॉर्ब एंड पीपल स्टार्टेड टू कनेक्ट टू इट बेटर. दे स्टार्टेड टू राइट टू अस इवन मोर. पहले भी हमारा बहुत अच्छा था इंटरेक्शन कस्टमर के साथ, बट इवन यू नो इट ग्रू फर्दर. आज की तारीख में ऑलमोस्ट लाइक आई थिंक मतलब मिनिमम 5% ऑफ आवर कस्टमर्स तो हमको वापस लिखते ही हैं जिन्होंने हमसे ऑर्डर किया दिन में. तो मतलब इट्स अ बिग नंबर. इट्स अ बिग नंबर. दे विल टेल अस कि उनको क्या अच्छा लगा क्या नहीं लगा. हमारे जिस प्रोडक्ट में जो पैकेजिंग का डब्बा आता है उसके बहुत सारे DIY टाइप के कुछ चीज़ें बना के दे पुट अप ऑन यूट्यूब. तो बहुत सो आई थिंक द होल थिंग ऑफ एंटरटेनिंग हर इनटू बाइंग यू जस्ट वर्कड फॉर अस.
So, like for my transition based business, you know, I was reading that, you know, in fact, another thing which I relate to you, and probably we can discuss that, like you were clear that यार app क्यों बनाना है, you know, because this is the one thing which I keep telling my team that app की जरूरत ही क्यों, कि मेरा एक student एक बार के लिए जा रहा है, वो 51 weeks के लिए मुझसे बुक कर रहा है, तो why I need an app, you know. Then of course मेरे लिए एक thought आया कि now my students are searching on app store. When they are searching, then we need an app, and then we like, okay, how we engage. But what was it for you?
Yeah, so I think from an app perspective, this was one of my biggest personal failures, where the team kept saying that, you know, let's make an app, and I would say lingerie का app कौन use करेगा, right? Today, like they are the last of 60 or 70% business comes from app, right? So and even today people keep laughing at me if ये बंद कर दें तो so I think it's also a function of you don't know what the customer wants. I think that's the biggest learning that I have personally taken from this business, is that I will never know my customer, because whenever I feel that I've understood her a little bit, she would have evolved again, right? And even in content, you know, that's the one thing that I'm going back to the whole content play, just adding up to that story. In my education time, when I was running education business, you know, the entire consumption was done by top 1% of the people. So 99% of people don't want to understand anything, right? I mean, they just want
They're
to.
passive, yeah.
They're passive.
Yeah.
So I
They
think.
just roll.
Yeah. So that kind of again translated into that whole content bit also. Same thesis is now applying in the app also, right? And all of a sudden you realize that, you know, people wanted something else and you felt that, you know, you knew all about them. So now I have stopped saying no to anything. I have saying let's do an MVP, let's try and understand. If there is an ROI, then we do it. It could be the wackiest idea, as long as it is keeping the brand intact. I'm always open to it, at least, you know, and I think same goes for Neha. I can really comfortably say that we are very open to anything wacky as an idea, because that helps us understand the customer a little more, and it might help us hit a pulse which we would not even have dreamed in our wildest imaginations.
So, what's your take on celebrity brand versus now founder-led brands, wherein the founders are the brand ambassadors? You know, in your case, probably you or, you know, one of you, because like now people relate to relatability. Like, okay, you know, Are Neha is like us, you know. So, what is Neha saying? What is your view? Because you have couple of
founder led content पे ROI तो best देता है अभी. मतलब if because all of us are at the end of it dependent on meta ads. तो आपका ROAS तो best आएगा because customers relate to it, but it's also algorithm I feel. ठीक है, at the end of it it's founders call. आप किस टाइप के पर्सन हो, है ना. अभी प्रेशर तो बहुत है कि जाओ ऐड बनाओ, कंटेंट बनाओ, ये करो, अपने आप को पुश करो. बट अगर आपका वो पर्सनालिटी नहीं है, मतलब यू आर मोर लाइक यू वांट टू, हाँ, मतलब दिस काइंड ऑफ कंटेंट वी आर फाइन, बट वी डोंट वांट टू बी इन द एड्स एंड एवरी डे. देन बट बिकॉज वी डू समथिंग एल्स बेटर, you know, marketing is only one aspect of the business. There's so much more. So I think it's, and then you are also an algorithm away from, कल को वो डांस के आने लगे तो अब डांस थोड़ी करने लगेंगे, या मतलब हाथ पे चल के जाने वाला वीडियो अच्छा चलेगा तो हम वो थोड़ी करने लगेंगे. तो I think for sure founder led ads do the best right now. But I don't know what will be it tomorrow. So you should play to your strength. If you're a person जिसके लिए content बनाना effortless है और अच्छा है, do it. I mean, but वही एनर्जी तुम किसी और चीज़ में लगाओगे वो भी अच्छा देगी. You don't need to sweat कि यार उसका तो ब्रांड इतना चल रहा है, वो अच्छी दिखती है, वो कर रही है, मैं नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, या हाँ, मतलब इतना कोई लोड लेने की बात नहीं है.
In business का तो ये बड़ा simple फंडा है. At its you know, at the time it gets initiated, it gets germinated, उसी टाइम उसकी सोल क्लियर हो जाती है, राइट. डिस्कवर लेट होती है, राइट. अब अगर आपके ब्रांड की, अगर आप VLCC हो, आपके ब्रांड की सोल ही आप एक नाम हो, राइट, और आप उससे बन रहे हो, so it is always going to be a function of that, right? So
Are you very spiritual? Because it seems I'm sitting with two people, which is like one is monk, the other is like like
the monk and the one who sold his Ferrari to
Who stole his Ferrari?
I got my thumbnail.
The monk and the one who stole your Ferrari.
I'm extremely spiritual.
It seems you're like it's coming out of your
I'm not that good an actor as I thought I am.
Talking about monk, and so you created something like AI monk, and that too like not now, like before this AI era. What was that, and how does that come into existence?
Yeah, monk is basically a sensei which has a sixth sense, right? So we created a place called the monastery, right, which had a bunch of monks sitting in, and every monk was supposed to predict the future. So one would predict which product will sell more. So there were prediction algorithms within the product, which size would sell more. So we created a lot of our predictive algorithms way ahead of, and those are heuristics. Those were not AI, right? Because that time even ML was, we didn't have enough data for ML, right? And AI was anyways not born yet, right? And great, it wasn't born, because had we used AI in small data, it would have started to hallucinate. So we built predictive algorithms based on heuristics, and we kept tweaking those heuristics basis the learnings that we got. And I think that's where I personally loved that part of the business, because every time you do a tweak, in the next 2 months you would see an impact, right? All of a sudden your inventory was fresher, better things selling were being made, all of a sudden हमारे category में हमेशा एक bell curve बनता है, right? Of certain sizes will sell more and rest will sell very less. If you make all size equal, or make it like this, then all of a sudden you'll see a lot of wastages on the sides. And every product will have different, एक product में अगर lace लग जाएगा तो maybe youngsters will buy it more. If youngsters are buying it, then all of a sudden maybe there will be more petite kids, right? So all of a sudden sizes will change. So it's such a beautiful math when it comes to this part of the business. It all statistics.
So how important is it for a brand to like, what are those three things which make it break it for any lingerie company?
You want to take that?
Three things. So of course you have to get your sizing right. Make or break में तो यार मतलब you have to understand your customer.
तो कैसे आता है size? जैसे आपके कुछ fit test?
हाँ, so okay, so we have a Clovia curve fit test where you come, you ask, you answer only 5 questions. बहुत छोटू सा है, but it is not about sizing of the body, but specifically the sizing and the shape of the bust, because both of them define how what fit will be best suited to you. तो उस पे है, एंड 3 सवाल अबाउट द बस्ट हैं एंड 2 सवाल अबाउट व्हाट इज़ द प्रॉब्लम दैट यू आर फेसिंग. उसके बेसिस पे वी सजेस्ट कि ये तुम्हारा बेस्ट प्रोडक्ट है, ये तुम्हारा बेस्ट साइज़ है इस प्रोडक्ट में. एंड जब पीपल गो थ्रू दैट टेस्ट तो हमारे रिपीट इज़ 40% हायर एंड आर रिटर्न इज़ वैसे भी हमारे रिटर्न्स बहुत कम है. मतलब इट्स प्रीटी अमेजिंग कि एक ब्रा जैसी कैटेगरी में हाँ उसमें भी 11 नहीं,
this category will have the biggest returns, right?
because second skin product है. मतलब we take returns of bras because it's like any shop में आपने गए ट्रायल रूम में ट्राई किया, जो फिट नहीं है आपने वापस रख दिया, वैसे ही है. तो उसमें भी हमारा 11% ही है. मतलब only 11% women don't find their size the
maternity
first
bras
time.
we will not take back. So any place where briefs we don't take back, जहाँ hygiene का issue होगा वहाँ भी
बट उसमें एक सेकेंड सेंस इतना ज़्यादा हमने इस फिट टेस्ट को यूज़ करके कंटिन्यूस फीडबैक को यूज़ अबाउट 1 million प्लस हमारे पास प्रोडक्ट्स पे फीडबैक्स हैं इंडिविजुअल्स विच आर फैक्टर्ड इनटू मेकिंग द राइट फिट फॉर गर्ल्स. हम लगातार हमने प्रोडक्ट की जितने कंपोनेंट्स होते हैं, फैब्रिक्स है, इलास्टिक्स है, डिफरेंट ट्रिम्स हैं, उस पर काम किया है. सो नाउ वी हैव रीच्ड zen टू अ सर्टेन एक्सटेंट. अब उसके ऊपर उठाना है प्रोडक्ट बिकॉज कस्टमर भी इवॉल्व हो रहे हैं. अब नेक्स्ट फेज इज़ मोर मिनिमलिस्ट, सो दे वांट अस कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट. हम अभी तक काफ़ी मैक्सिमलिस्ट थे कि हमको और इसमें फीचर्स डालने हैं और सपोर्ट, और अब वो डिफरेंट हो रहा है. सो वी विल ऑल्सो कीप इवॉल्विंग. आप इवॉल्व नहीं करोगे कस्टमर के साथ तो जैसे पहले लड़कियां बात नहीं करती थी लाइक यू वर सेइंग. हमारे खुद की फैमिली और फ्रेंड्स जाके गूगल पे रिव्यू नहीं डालते थे, हाँ वो कोई बात ही नहीं करना चाहता था आपसे. पर अभी इतना चेंज हो गया धीरे धीरे, दिस होल इन्फ्लुएंसर एंड दैट क्रिएटर इकोनॉमी केम इनटू प्ले, तो सब, एंड दिस इज अ कॉन्वर्सेशन starter also.
One time there's this investor of mine called in a lot of panic and he said, "Boss, what have you done?" I said, "What happened?" He said, I went to the website with you, right?" Yes. You know, everywhere I'm seeing the ads. My wife is getting panicky. Of what am I doing?
टारगेट कर दिया उनको, उनके ऑफिस के प्रेजेंटेशंस में भी नीचे से पॉपअप आ रहा है, सब हमारे वेब पुश आ रहे हैं.
This is of course, and this is 2017 or whatever. So
हमने बोला कि खरीद लो आप एक बार, फिर उसके बाद हम आपका पीछे छोड़ देंगे.
So one was your insights. Then the size thing we have discussed. We discussed about AI Monk, right? And what was the Reliance movement? Because I mean, as you mentioned, like in fact there was one question my team mentioned at the night of that decision. What was the feel like? Like because selling a baby, versus like building it up further.
So I think it's not
so involved.
Yeah, so it's not selling a baby. I think it's a logical growth movement for the baby, right? It's like sending your baby to college,
Finding the right home,
finding the right
college,
home, right?
whatever.
So the baby is now 18 plus and wants to go to a good college, so might as well send there. So for us we had two options, whether we should go the private equity route or we go through this route, and this made a lot more sense because there was a lot more firepower and speed that could have come, right? Private equity also would have done the exact same thing but with infusion of a lot more capital.
You get the more distribution.
Yeah, so everything that you would have created was already created. So that was a thought we had, and we said that our target for the business to reach at this stage is to reach, there are two routes now we can take. So we decided to take the faster route there. I think that's the way to look at it.
How does it happen? Like they reach out, you reach out, or it was like?
It was, yeah. I mean,
if you're comfortable sharing this.
Yeah. So again, it's just a little bit too much to it, but I think it was a good. Once we connected, we realized that and we were shown the right, what path they had planned. So we loved the.
So did you meet Vermani's?
So that's again is a conversation we might want to have.
Right. So what next? How do you see next 5 years for Clovia and for yourself?
Clovia is going very strong. I think her business, her brand like different stage पे एक momentum gather कर लेता है. So it's going very strong. Wherever we are going, our product is becoming number one. We hold leadership position now in online. We have मतलब online से मतलब अपना.
Who's offering biggest? If may I ask?
अभी तो jockey है. So उनका distribution is like a lakh.
Mainly in India market. So India is the biggest market for them.
हाँ, उनका तो lakhs of counters में उनके men's wear था, हाँ, तो उसमें तो they are in distribution. We have launched distribution just now. So we are also going very strong. And there we have 85 plus. अब मतलब हो जाएंगे साल के एंड तक 100 को क्रॉस कर जाएंगे हम अपने स्टोर्स में भी, ब्रांड आउटलेट्स में भी. So
I do more business from your own stores or counters, because like still there is a taboo for people to move.
No, so everything is growing very fast right now, and own stores are doing exceptionally well. That's why we're scaling them.
The thing is, जहाँ customer है हमें वहाँ पहुँचना है. तो it doesn't matter कि किधर क्या. Of course you see कि कहाँ पे आपका credit नहीं फंसना चाहिए, आपका cash timely आना चाहिए. So उस हिसाब से मतलब you let go of some opportunities, but we also sell now outside of India, doing very well. In Middle East.
So how, like in my mind, probably more than 98% of your business is Indian women.
हाँ.
Or is it the same? And now it's moving?
Yeah, it's much smaller. The international business is much smaller, but it's growing very fast.
So how
it is built for Indian women, but because we have built the capacity to iterate on the fit fast. Now इतना ज़्यादा डेटा को मतलब हम लोग को पढ़ना भी आ गया है. The team is trained to think channel wise. इस चैनल की ये ऑडियंस है. मैंने आपको बोला ना, इवन clovia.com की ऑडियंस ऑनलाइन और क्लोविया ब्रांड आउटलेट की ऑडियंस में भी थोड़ा फ़र्क है. हाँ, वो जो इंसान फ्लिपकार्ट से और हमारे यहाँ या अमेजोन से हमारे उसमें भी थोड़ा फ़र्क है. हाँ, देयर आर डिफरेंट बेस्ट सेलर्स. ठीक है, कॉमन पूल से निकल रहा है, बट देयर इज स्मॉल डिफरेंसेस इवन इन साइजिंग वाइजिंग में भी ऑनलाइन ऑफलाइन. तो नाउ वी रीड द कस्टमर ऑफ दैट चैनल ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. हो जाते 6-8 महीने लगते हैं, बट देन वी नो कि इधर ये वाला स्टॉक रखना है. And then we just so the same product then works, and we are also keeping up with trends. International trends को हम बहुत closely follow करते हैं.
Wow, what a conversation with Neha and Pankaj. From 6 crores in year 1 to building a category leading company which been acquired for whopping almost 1000 crores. What a journey. But the journey is something else. The biggest takeaway for me is that advice about either you lead or you can follow or get out of the way. Don't try to be everything, and don't sleep on debt financing. It saved them approximately 40% equity dilution. Imagine 40% of 1000 crore, 400 crores is what they saved by embracing debt financing. And also how important is working capital. Business just not about top line, it's about capital. The best part was just hearing how they built this together as a couple. Stayed disciplined when everyone around them was raising crazy money, spending crazily, into discounts, and kept learning from their customer. So to Neha and Pankaj, thanks for keeping it real with us today. If you enjoyed this, hit that subscribe button, share it with your founder's friend, with your budding entrepreneurship, with your parents and with your kids, because now India and this world is not about just seeking jobs, it's about creating jobs. As I say, it's not about just live, it's about live, learn, achieve and stay happy. Because if you're not happy, there's no point to make money. And money making is a byproduct. It's all about learning. If you're curious, you're learning, money is a byproduct. This is what I learned from Pankaj, and this is the validation I got from all the investors, all the founders and all the peer group we've been interacting with. Till then, till next time, let's continue to be curious, to live, learn, achieve and stay happy, and keep tuning in. Thank you so much.